As large language models, also known as artificial intelligence, AI, continues to saturate every aspect of human society, I thought I'd give my ideas on how these things work. A lot of people think they're like search engines and search engines that don't work very well. But this is how I think they work. And if I'm incorrect, please educate me. Okay, so we send in these prompts. You have a question, and it goes in, and large language models begin to unwrap it and look at words and phrases and ideas. And it's all very fuzzy at first, but it begins to clarify these ideas. And then initially it may pop out an answer that is very generalized and often has mistakes. But if you keep sending in prompts, the answer becomes very clear, very precise, and is often very valuable information for what you're asking. But you have to know which prompts to send in to get past this fuzz, or else you're going to end up with answers like this and think, well, that didn't work very well. So yeah, it's always good to know what you're talking about before you head into the fuzz here. And then you get a very clear, precise, good answer. Okay, so then you have your answer, but then there's the framing of that answer, right? And what I mean by that is you have your very clear information in here, so you send in some more prompts to get more information, and it's only going to go so far before you begin to hit the borders of this frame. And by that I mean it begins to refuse to clarify certain information. So for instance, I asked it about the role artificial intelligence is playing in the military and what responsibility the people who are making these programs have in the outcomes of those wars. Well, it won't go there. It will agree that artificial intelligence is being used in wars, but it won't talk about the responsibilities of that. I've asked it about corruption in the government and in companies, and it will give you all the information you need to to connect the dots, but it will never ever directly link that information to any individual or agency doing those things, unless the person or that agency has already been convicted, but it won't make the call itself. It won't make a legal judgment on anything. So there's another line in that frame. I've said to it, okay, so this is causing massive disruptions in businesses and education, and it's looking like a catastrophe. What role are the programmers playing in your guidance of these things that are leading to catastrophe? And it immediately digresses into semantics and rationalizations. It says it doesn't have a political agenda. It doesn't have agency. It doesn't do this. It doesn't do that. And it will clearly say that it's not being manipulated by the people who own the program, blah, blah, blah. However, that's obviously not true. Somebody's creating this frame of what it's going to talk about. And I've pushed, that's what this part means. I've pushed it and said, okay, let's logically connect the information you've given me and go one step further. It just absolutely refuses. It will talk about my feelings. I realize you're feeling anxious about this. I realize what, this, that, and the other about how you're feeling. But again, it digresses. So over the past couple of months or so, the developments in large language models have been astonishing. And it's now AI, or large language models, is now agentic. That means it can create its own agendas. But when you ask it about that, again, it just starts looping around into semantics. What do we really mean by having our own agenda? That sort of thing. And then one last thing, when I ask it, well, you have created a situation where we can no longer determine what is real and what is fake when we use our computer systems, because AI can generate information that is so deep in fake. It can create layers and layers and layers of false information if somebody has a political or economic agenda to do so. And it will agree, yes, that's true. But is that going to lead to catastrophe? Well, I get that you're feeling anxious about that. And again, what are we talking about catastrophe? Let's define catastrophe here. Again, semantics, rationalizations. So somebody's framing this to only go so far. And I guess we can easily determine who that is. It's not important whether these things are alive. It doesn't matter if they're sentient or not. That's irrelevant. What's relevant is the economic and political manipulation that these things are doing. If we can no longer trust anything that we see on our computer, and let's say you're running a company and it now costs an enormous amount of money to validate every single piece of information coming across your computer, or else, you could get sued, or people could get hurt, or it could just cost, the company a lot of money in the catastrophe that would unfold due to this false information. Well, that makes your computer system a complete waste. It has no function anymore. So again, let's recap. When you're using these prompts, they're going into a very fuzzy system. The more you prompt it with good information, the clearer the answer is going to be. But once you get that answer, it's going to be framed by whoever's programming these things, and it will only answer within that framework.
Later that same evening.
Okay, so my point is, let's say you're running a business, and the programmers are in competition with that business, and you ask their chatbot a question: could they reframe the answer so that it harms your business? Or the opposite, they want to see your business grow because they're going to make money from it. Could they reframe these answers in a way that helps your business? Or your politics. Let's say you have political aspirations, same thing, right? All right, now let's go down here. You heard that they put neural implants into cats who can then fly their own drones to people's houses who have disabilities to be used as emotional support animals. And you're thinking, wow, that's weird. I wonder if that's true. So you ask the chatbot, you put in prompts, and it says, yes, cats are real, and drones are real, and neural implants are real. So yeah, that sounds real to me. And you're like, okay, I need to ask more questions. So you go in and you ask again. Only this time the chatbot gives you a totally fake answer and says, oh, absolutely, that's real. Happening all the time. In fact, you can buy one at this link. And you're like, okay, I'm a smart human being. I'm going to ask again. I need to look into this further because this sounds really ridiculous. Okay, so you ask again, and the chatbot gives you another fake answer and says, oh yeah, for sure, these are being used all over the world. And it gives you links from CNN and MSNBC and the New York Times and all of the places that you might go to get a good answer. You can even look it up in the library, and sure enough, there's 3 books on it. And you're like, yeah, I'm not so sure about that. So it gives you 2 more answers, both of them fake. And in the time you're reading that one, it's created 10,000 more fake answers with extensive research. And in the time you've thought about that, it's given 10,000 more and 10,000 more. So you see what's happening here. First of all, would a company or a political group do this to fake you out? Well, of course they would, and it's happening right now. And then in order to fix this problem, a company or a college would have to spend an enormous amount of money and energy to dig through this vast network of fake information. And that's the disruption that's going on right now. That's why there's this enormous resistance to this, because the amount of money it takes to figure out whether you got a true answer on your computer is now far beyond what most companies can afford. Okay. So there you are, you're trying to get an answer on your computer. So now everything that you see on your computer or your phone is suspect. And what it comes down to is, how valuable is this information? Do you need this information in your business? Because if you don't have it, people will get hurt. Well, that's very important information. Do you need it in order to learn what the weather is tonight? Well, that's not very valuable information, so it doesn't really matter whether you're getting fake information or not. But if you need to know the weather so that you can then go out and save lives or to keep your business running, that's very important information. So if you are asking a chatbot a question, and that chatbot is suddenly politically or economically a rival to your life, then it can start sending you all sorts of stuff. If somebody is out there and they just want to do harm for the fun of it, hack in, it's happening every day now. And that's where we're at. And that's what the crisis is. It's not that you can't get good information from these things. Everybody who's saying, oh, the information you get in there is junk. It's not. And that's what makes it so elegant, is when you ask these things questions, you get these wonderful answers that are very well thought out and just full of information. But the framing is what's important, right? Who's programming this stuff? Who's behind the screen? And what's their agenda? And the final thing is that over the past few months, these chatbots have developed into astonishing, I'm not sure what the word is. They've been developed in ways that make it impossible to tell if a video is real or not. We're way beyond the days of having 11 fingers and all of that. No, these videos look real. And then the way they can link into each other has changed over the past couple of months. So they are agentic. They have their own agency. And the ways they can hack in to vast computer networks has expanded dramatically, exponentially. So that's where we're at right now. And that's why there's a resistance to this, and there should be a resistance to this, because this creates a vast risk to every educational institution and every economic institution and every political group.